What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your your daily creative reading for October 4th. Now, I know I missed a reading yesterday. I do apologize. I am trying to prioritize some rest because there are a lot of changes happening and things moving, which is amazing. It's very good. But I just wanted to prioritize some rest and all of that. I had a therapy appointment yesterday morning as well, so I just wanted to give myself some space. Yes, I'm doing that. People feel they get a little bit weird when you talk about that stuff, but I think that knowing yourself enough to know when something's like, above your head a little bit and you need some outside help is very important. So, so we're going to dive in. We're going to see where this takes us for this week. So once again, I really appreciate your patience with the absence of readings yesterday. It felt very weird to have no readings up, but I really needed the time and got a ton done. And I actually ended up setting up my own altar again in my space for the time being, which was incredible feeling. It was just wonderful. It's something that I had done before 2016, and I kind of fell out of that habit. But whoa, okay, the cards are quite loud today. Lots to say. The temple, spiral dance of the goddess, and devotion to the small. The temple, maybe this is about altars because I was talking about it on the altar. Like, where do you go to express yourself to spirit? Or like, what space do you have to do that? This is almost like coming across as like communion with the divine, especially with the spiral dance of the goddess as well. Like there's this sense of speaking to spirit. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the cord here. Whoops. There we go. Oh, technology is wonderful. We're out of the retrograde in the shadow of it, but still. So devotion to the small. Maybe there's like little things, like little synchronicities or little like these little wonders, right? That are crossing your path, and that's where you're going to see spirit and know that you are God, right? And that's where you're going to experience the full depth and breadth of your power, but also your connection to as well. And I think that's really important. And it could also be that the devotion to the small. If this is about a relationship for you, 222 on the time, it's maybe, but for me, I'm a big believer in like the little things make up the big things. So like, it doesn't matter if somebody takes me out or I take someone out on this like incredible, lavish date. What matters more to me is someone remembering that I had a really important meeting one day, and then they ask how that went out of nowhere, or they just remember it, right? Like those little things mean so much more because then the big things can seem like performative. So maybe that's what this is about too, like this trust in spirit such that it's not a performative engagement that spirit has with you, but allow spirit into the small. Right. So that's like a reminder, allowing spirit in, and I think allowing people in as well. Right. That's a big thing too. Like myself included, after, when you're hurt a number of times, you can look at things and say to yourself, well, it's not that it isn't working, but it becomes difficult to understand how to trust people within a constellation of constructs when they've proven otherwise. And it's about not just hope, but letting spirit back in to illuminate the places where people caused that little bits of hurt, right? 333 on the time, so that you don't associate it with like everything and you don't write everything off. And I think that's just important in general, but that was a lot of channeling. Okay, let's dive in and see where the cards themselves take us. Which one, Spirit? Do you want these ones? Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, letting some things go, are we? The Fool and the Ten of Wands on the bottom. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives for... Whoa, there's one. Hey, call to adventure is the Ace of Wands. I mean, yeah, that's a good call to adventure. Inspiration is calling. You gonna answer whatever inspiration means to you? Sometimes it's an inspired way of being too, right? Like I think about this as the sound of the freight train, right? And it's like how you charge forward. It's almost like coming across as a Six of Swords, where it's like you're moving away from conflict. You're moving towards a better way of doing things. That could be for some. And moving away from conflict just in the sense of feeling like, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Right? Also, points for anyone who's keeping tabs on the number of times I said like in the past 30 seconds. Good Lord. I promise my vocabulary is more expensive. Expensive? No, extensive. Expensive vocabulary. Jeez. Anyways, that's hilarious. There's something you're not really that sure of or clear about. I think maybe you need to get clear. There's like this refusal energy here in this spread. It's like you're refusing to be clear about something. It could be boundaries I'm hearing, because I'm seeing these boundaries around this person where instead of articulating a clarity of boundaries for oneself, it's relying on thought patterns and old patterns to it's almost like a fallback, right? The boundary fallback. That actually is going to be what this is called. Ta-da! I need to find a piece of paper. Holy shit, I have none. What? Okay, we're getting it together here, folks. And it's gone. Oh my gosh, I just have to write down the time because I don't remember. I love channeling. Because it's there today, gone tomorrow, right? Yeah, it's like this. It's like the boundary. You need to get clear about some boundaries here, because the ideas that are coming, the inspiration that's arriving, they aren't going to fit into the same container that from whence they came before. So it's almost like this new, right? And that's really with the Fool energy on the bottom before, and then this Ace of Wands is coming across as new again. It's like there's new constructs that it's like there's new fire that's meeting with your swords, and it's like you got to let go of it. You have to let the swords go, because that's not the way that things are happening now. Like you're showing up as more Empress energy, and again the Five of Swords is showing up here. This tells me that the refusal is informed in part by the container within you. You are the Empress now, as opposed to confusing yourself as a container of Five of Swords when this was the way that you expressed. Now you're understanding yourself as the Empress, if that makes any sense. One is communication in motion, and the other is an energy of the container itself. And you're showing up as the Empress here, which is beautiful. Oh, and the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups really just wanted to know that they were here for you as well. I'm going to set these aside. Just a lot of being in touch with your emotions here right now is going to be crucial and quite critical. Now, the High Priestess is interesting. She's so fascinating. No, but it's an energy of connection intuitively. However, the other thing here is that the High Priestess to me is also about the secrets that we keep and the secrets that keep us, right? I can't remember where, but I feel like it's like some recovery literatures talk about this, like you're only as sick as your secrets, right? And I feel like that's kind of the Eight of Swords here. It's like the secrets that you kept from yourself, or it could be repressed thoughts as well, like traumas that you that kept you stuck. So it could be releasing those. But just as an aside, if you are in a place of feeling like that, don't hesitate to reach out to get help. If it's available, however it's available, do so, because it's quite important. But anyways, this High Priestess is showing up as like maybe there were things that you kept from yourself emotionally, like wants, desires, and they're starting to flow through more. And I think your clarity isn't coming from what action to take, because I get the feeling that maybe you were in a place of feeling like once you decided what to do, then it would come. But things weren't moving, and that might have frustrated you a little bit. Because the King of Swords can also be a bit obstinate in energy as well. But there's like new here that's arriving, and whatever form this takes, it could be working with other people, could be friendships. Yeah, there's like a whole cycle that's ending. That is a whole word. Page of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, Knight of Cups. Yeah, it's like this. So what I'm seeing here, yes, it was the Devil on the bottom, but it wasn't loud. It's more Capricorn energy than anything, because these are quite informative and louder. So I'm getting that there's this subtle maturation of emotional investment in something, be it yourself, an idea. It could be healing. Like this is healing that has taken time. It's a process, right? It's applying yourself and applying these principles every day in small ways, right? I'm hearing the words every day, in every way my life gets better and better. Could be an affirmation for you. But I feel like there's like putting an end to the way that you used to see yourself as foundational amongst a group of people. Possibly it could also be creative endeavors. Like the world is the ending of something, but it's also the beginning of something new. This is Saturnian energy. It's also fixed sign energy. So Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio. It's almost like the ways that you applied yourself and dedicated yourself perhaps were related to more I want to say fixed energies in that they were consistent, which is amazing, right? I'm a fixed air. Like I consistency is it's like the language of my dreams, like for real. That is a whole love language. But the way that this is coming across is that there was some control that you felt like you maybe needed to have when you didn't see all the details because it made you feel safe, right? I almost see this as being wrapped up as well in like this womb like energy, like you wanted to encase yourself somewhere, and it's like you're trying to replicate the feeling of being in a cocoon where the butterfly spreads its wings without any of the mental work to sort through the patterns, and that creates an imbalance. And that's where this was kind of the King of Swords is coming across as clarity, yes, but also slight control. So I feel like there's a releasing of that because you're now listening to something beyond, right? You're going within instead of seeing yourself as stuck. And that's really important. So this Ace of Wands new energy it's almost like it's sparking something new, right? But I feel like it's coming through these small, unassuming moments. It's like unassuming, like, oh, like epiphanies. People might say things and you're like, oh, ooh, do I do that? Right? Someone said something the other day about a dynamic. They were joking about something. And then I, was reflecting on it, not overthinking, but just asking myself like, oh, I wonder if I'm like that. And then, just saying afterwards to them like, hey, I know that wasn't about me, but it got me thinking because that was really powerful what you said. So like, was that something that I do? And if I have done, just let me know, right? Like it's not doing it in a way to make people feel uncomfortable, but it's like sometimes epiphanies don't come crashing in like the tower. Sometimes they come in like a page, which is very subtle. And it comes in as like news from somewhere, like, oh, a little birdie, not gossip, but like, oh, a little birdie told me, right? And a birdie told me, meaning like it's just overhearing something and feeling super inspired. But I also feel like this is following your intuition in a different way, right? Emotions to me are about trust because it's the stuff you can't see, right? As an Aquarian, I love to understand things. I love to understand things so much so that it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, that's, and if I don't understand it or comprehend it, it's difficult for me to wrap my head around the next part. And I feel like one of the things, and this is where your progress chart in astrology is really helpful, because it helps you to understand how you're maturing emotionally and intuitively and otherwise, right? I'm a Pisces sun, mature, progressed, Cancer rising progressed, and Gemini moon progressed, but in the 12th house. For the time being, next year it's going into the more of the first house Aries. So it's like there's this shift that takes place where you start to trust in your emotions, and it's not that they need to be comprehensible, but you are comprehensible to yourself. So when that happens, there's action that can take place that's informed by a whole different world of things, right? Literally speaking, this could mean travel, in terms of the world. But I'm hearing astral travel. Some of you could be. My one of my intuitive gifts is doing this in dreams, and not really planning on it. So like I go to some amazing places and have all these wonderful revelations in dreams, but it's just I don't do it consciously or intentionally. Always a gift though. But nonetheless, getting back to these here, it's like this way that it's almost like your approach is changing to something. Your approach is changing to something, and this may look like a devolution, right, of energy, but I think this is actually a humbling of energy around the heart center, which is a softening of it, right? Going from a knight to a page, people might be like, whoa, that doesn't look so good. But to me, it's really energetically coming across as a softening into a bit of a more humble space, right? And not a humble offering as in small, a humble, like humility, right? I would rather have a humble heart than one that boasts, right? And the Knight of Pentacles is not necessarily a boastful energy, but it's just how that energy is coming across. So take that for what you will. Okay, so Spirit, okay. All right, then. The world really wants to come out as the thing that could become a tower if it goes unchecked. Don't look at the things that are ending right now. Look at the stuff that's beginning. This is what you don't see coming on the bottom, right? That's where this can become a tower, is if you get so if you're so fixed on the ending and don't see the beginning, your consistency, right? This consistency is a superpower for fixed signs. So it's like that energy will be inaccessible to you, right? My ear is ringing, my left ear. Actually, that's just the timer on the oven. Hilarious. Oh my God. I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, that sounds external. I'm like, that's so weird. I'll roll with it anyway. Oh my gosh, I'm really glad that happened. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. Anyways, but my ears often ring in reading, so I will say it. But my roommates are cooking. But anyway, so the world card here is it could become a tower if it goes unchecked. I think it is about paying attention far more to the ending than to what's beginning here. And that's where you can get fixed and stuck in place. It's like the delineation here speaks volumes because that's where you could be getting stuck right now. Things are ending. We're just finishing a whole bunch of retrogrades in October. I feel like the way the world feels energetically after a downpour, right? After a downpour is how it's going to feel when it's like a deep sigh that the world takes after a really good rainfall. I love it so much. But it's like that's where it's like your soul is like exhaling. And I think you have to understand that the exhale is because there's something new that you're going to be inhale. Like that's the inhale, the deep breath in, that sigh, right? You have to let the air out first. So I'll put that here as well. Spirit, what additional messages do you have for my daily creatives? So I'll put, okay, thank you. That's your protagonist energy is the sun. The Six of Wands is here as well in the antagonist position of this hero's journey spread. The cool part about this is I think it's, you've got to do what needs, you have to do you in a way that doesn't discount what public facing recognition and success would look like. But you need to do you in a way that's like, that comes as adjacent to it, inconsequential of your actions, right? Just meaning your justification for your actions, right? Emotions don't make sense to many people, but they're so important. Like it's and you know, again, progress charts are fun to look at. I find them quite fascinating, just to talk about with friends and to see how they're maturing and just myself as well. Like it's just such a deeply fascinating thing. But I think when you're in that water, it's like your emotions they're not uncharted waters. They're waters that you can navigate, but it's their depths that change. It's their depths that change. It's like going through the ocean and you're like, holy shit, there's a coral reef here. You know, like, oh, wow, look at that whole pod of whales. Like all of these things that it's the small things that pop up relative to your emotions related to their depths as opposed to, just seeing them as this like, ooh, that's the ocean is a really vast place. Yes, we all have that within us. It's also how we connect to higher consciousness because emotions are the things that we work with. That's how we anchor in to different things, right? I sound like such a wise Aquarius, but if anybody knew me, they'd be like more like a wise ass Aquarius. But that is for another day, friends. But this is really it's about familiarity with your emotions, such that there's not a running from them, as much as a leaning into them. You know, I was talking to my therapist this morning. We're gonna go here, whatever. And one of the things that we had talked about, and I'm sure Brene Brown has said this in the book, The Atlas of the Heart, but just, you know, the opposite of shame is being seen in a way, like it kind of is. And it's almost like that's kind of coming through here where it's like this could be a form of shame, like the beliefs that you hold that make you feel compelled to hold on to things as opposed to standing in your power, right? Sometimes feeling safe is like feeling like you're encased in a womb, right? Like that sort of oceanic energy. And it's like, that's where you got to be really clear about not just what you want, because this is a desire, right? That's a fire. That's a desire, or the fire of desire. But it's also reconnecting to something more fundamental, I think. It's reconnecting to something more fundamental because the world it speaks about cycles, but it's also Saturnian energy and Saturn in our birth charts, natally speaking, at least, well, anyways, but I was just going to say, what else would it be? Anyways, but Saturn can tell us about the things that require, it's like the 1919 was on the time. It's like the things that are the way that you're learning lessons in this lifetime, right? What sign it's in, what house it's in, how that will show up. And that's where these things can become towers when we get so fixed that we fail to understand the difference between being obstinate and consistent. And that's where beliefs really separate that bridge where we can say, well, I'm I'm sure-footed about this. We can convince ourselves that it's something that it isn't, right? We can convince ourselves that we are, subject matter experts, King of Swords. And really what we are is a little bit confused. And I don't want to say lost, because no one's really lost per se. I think it's about understanding the path that you're on, and also the beliefs that you put up to really stop your success, and for what reason, right? For what reason? And that's, I think it's also about like, why are you doing the thing that you're doing? Is it to be, to join the square and to have all the boxes ticked and to say this is successful? Or is it because you just really want to do it? Right? Like with this channel, I just love tarot. Like I've built up my collection a fair bit over the past like 2 years, I would say. But I was doing tarot for a while, right? My mom gave me my first deck when I was, I think, 16 or 17. And she gave us all these little cute astrology books when we were younger. And she used to build charts before the internet. So it's really, where was I going with that? Oh my gosh. Leave it to a Gemini rising to not. Anyways, but yeah, just doing things that make you happy, right? It's about doing things that make you happy, and not pushing away any kind of public recognition, because this is a victory card, but I also see it as like everyone's coming to the square carrying their own wand, and this is where it's like, what applause are you doing things for? Like the applause of other people, or the feeling that you get where you just look in the mirror and you're like, man, I really love you. I really love you. And I really am so excited to show for the rest of my life how much I want to honor you, and not in some weird narcissistic way, but it was just one of the questions that my the counselor, therapist, whatever, was talking to me about today, and I'm sharing it with you here. I'm not going to go into all my dirt, but it is really about the transformation of thought, right? The transformation and evolution of your thoughts about yourself. One of the questions she asked me was, do you feel lovable? And my response was, yes. You can't transition, you can't transition from a place of loathing, right? At least I don't know how someone could. You can't do things like, it's difficult for me to understand how someone could. Tutu was just on the time. But it's just like thinking about that, and it's like, when's the last time that you did that? And not just like doing affirmations for the sake of them, but actually being able to look at yourself at the end of the day and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I really love you. I love you. And I know that sometimes you're a pain in the ass and you're a hot mess, but fundamentally you are so fucking lovable. And damn all the people that didn't get that before, be they friends, workplaces, partners, whatever, like, and just releasing that, and releasing the need to be right about how lovable you are. Because when that's like this, like you get into this locked pattern where you just feel like it's like you get into this 8 of Swords about it, where you have to be more right than happy. And to be happy is to let it all go. And I think about the transformation of thought. I was looking at this and I just saw the butterflies on the throne with the moon, right? And it's like this, the essence of Pluto in this is the transformation that I'm seeing, where it's like, it's not just clarity, but it's transforming what that clarity means to you. What's the main challenge today? And in this energy, Spirit, what's the main challenge? We have the Hierophant. It's almost like dedicating yourself to a cause, but it's like devotion. Like this is coming across as devotion. It's also coming across as like the way you commit yourself to what's most important, or apply yourself. Like, because the page and the pentacle, the page and the Knight of Pentacles came out as like application of oneself and your heart center, and this beautiful way that you're showing up as like this fulsome, this wholesome, offering from your heart. How is that showing up in terms of what you commit yourself to? How are you showing up committing to you, right? This is almost like, this is very much an empowerment spread. It's coming across that way, at least. Some Taurian energy as well. Could be something to do with the eclipse. So this, I say that, and then this was on the bottom, and this is like, it reminds me of the eclipse card in terms of a going within and the nodal axes and the journeys that we go on as we rise into our north node. Mine's in Aries, so it's very fiery and, leadership oriented. And and my South Node is in Libra, so I'm very comfortable being like, what does everyone think? Right? Like it's a very comfortable energy for me, sometimes to my detriment, but that's the point, right? That's the point. But nonetheless, I see the Eight of Cups in that sort of eclipse energy. And I was thinking about the eclipse in Taurus, which is, I think it's coming up in November, I am inclined to say, or the end of October. My brain. Anyways, take a look. I don't have the post-it note with me, but nonetheless, what came out was the Knight of Swords here, and I think that's how you overcome is you use the knowledge that you have of your own thriving, but don't forget that this is the overarching energy, your movement forward. You can have the best of intentions, you can have the clearest of ideas, but if they are disconnected from your emotions and from your depths, it's not that they will be fruitless. It's not that they will be useless, but it's almost like that's where this temple is. There's this temple inside. And it's like, I'm almost seeing this as like this Atlantean energy where it's like beneath the surface, there's this whole world. And it's like your emotions are in here. And this is this temple that you may not have been honoring as much. And the spiral dance of the goddess is this pearl. I'm almost seeing like a pearl from the depth and a pearl from beneath. Yeah, it's like a pearl pulled from beneath. And that's where this magic is. It's like this devotion to the small, just the small ways that life moves you, and seeing that inspiration is not disconnected from emotion, but actually deeply connected to it. So the deeper you go into those feelings, the more momentum and movement will come. I'm not saying sit in the uncomfortable emotions for long periods of time, because that can become its own thing. 2626 was just on the time. But I'm saying that in order to move forward, there's got to be a way that you approach how you have faith in yourself and what you're putting your faith in, as well as I almost feel like this, it's like how you commit. That's the Hierophant is traditionally commitment energy, and a lot of readers see that in terms of relationship, but it's coming across here as how you apply yourself and how dedicatedly you apply yourself to the path, right? The Knight of Swords is like a here today, gone tomorrow energy. It's one of the faster knights in the deck, but this to me says more about momentum. So where you're going and what you're moving towards, be it a relationship, a goal, a shared goal, if you're in a long-term committed relationship, right? There's a grounded approach that you can take, but this is coming across as a clarity of intention, right? Clarity of intention and knowledge. And that makes up the why, that informs why this is such a delicious idea, opportunity, or thing that's coming across your path right now. But you have to kind of get out of your own emotional way. And that's what this is here, right? Yeah. Sometimes that comes from listening and just saying like, hey, how am I showing up? How am I not showing up? How can I show up better? How can I show up differently, right? How can I love you better, right? Like saying that to a partner, or even to a friend. Like, how can I care for you as my friend? And how can I show you that I care differently than I have been if you've not been feeling that I've been showing up in my best self in a way that's supportive of the friendship, right? Like, being willing to ask those questions reveals your intention for something more long term, right? That's the challenge. This could also be about relationships. So if you are in a relationship, this could be something that is focused on the sort of, when people say take things to the next level, if you're in a relationship that's committed, or if you've put a ring on it, or that kind of thing, these are the kind of questions that take it a little deeper. Yeah. What are we awakening to here, Spirit? What are we waking up to through this? I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Given that this is the energy on the bottom of the deck, I almost feel like you're waking up to the ways that you've held yourself back by waiting. That's like you're waking up to the ways that you've kind of put off opportunities. Yeah, Ace of Pentacles on the bottom. The way that and this makes up the Eight of Pentacles, which is like invested work. Like it's becoming a bit of an aficionado in something, right? And I think that this is... I think that this is about it's really, that again, the energy of getting out of your own way. But again, this is a connection to intuition. So it's not that, I don't get that you weren't listening to your intuition, but I'm going to pull the major theme here for this reading for the day. Like what we take with us after this. and how we move through it. Because we've had all the aces except for the Ace of Swords, but that's almost coming through in the Swords energy here, is this truth that you're uncovering about your emotions. And maybe this has to do directly with a specific relationship. Maybe it doesn't have to do with a specific relationship, and just in general how you feel. Yeah, look at that. Eight of Swords, Three of Swords, Eight of Pentacles, sorry. Three of Swords, Seven of Pentacles. It's almost like you were holding back on something because you felt like you were mastering something to do, or like you were, again, like applying yourself so dedicatedly. This doesn't strike me as devotion, though. This is almost coming across as like work for the sake of work, because you felt like it would get you to an end goal, right? It's like doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I know some readers, Sassy Scorpion reads that as like the Nine of Wands, but that's really like it's a swords energy and the constellation of them here. But it's coming across as that, like, where you're, with that Seven of Pentacles, you're waiting, and it's like you get caught in this holding pattern. So you're like, well, I gotta stay busy doing something. Eight of Pentacles, hoping that the Three of Swords will just fall out, as opposed to going within and actually doing some emotional work, right? This is recognizing patterns, and it's not necessarily refusals, because I feel like the main refusal is the one where you're like, I don't know if I can go in. I don't know if I can do this again. Because maybe this was, around heartbreaks or just situations where people, or we can learn to not trust ourselves in so many funny ways. Maybe that's where this devotion to the small is, like through the small portals of healing that these things take place, right? When I was 16, I had this really intense thing happen, and one of my friends at the time said, to rebuild trust in yourself every day, make a goal and keep that one goal that you keep that one goal, so that every day you know that situation is not going to define you, and that you can indeed trust yourself, right? So maybe that's something here too. Overall, I get the impression, though, that you're kind of moving in it's like a more stable direction. There's a lot of swords here. There's like a lot of swords, but I feel like you're moving in a direction which is more important than this sort of stagnancy, but I feel like it's informed by something that is within. And I think that you're waking up to the fact that maybe the moves that you made before were too connected to swords, and you needed to be moving in your life in a way that was, this is so interesting. It's like, I was thinking about this before, but it's like, are you the vessel, right? Like, it's like one energy is aware of the vessel and sees it and holds it as a chalice, right? It becomes something that is, that decorates, it's ornamental, as opposed to the vessel on which you move, that is a life raft, that is a survival mechanism, right? And it's the difference between intuition being survival based, right? I need to intuit what's going to come next because I'm dealing with people or situations or places or things where I have to rely so heavily on what's inside me to know, because they're not communicating. They're not saying what's going on. So I have to rely on this so heavily. So your intuition can become overactivated. But what's actually happening is your intuition is slowly disconnecting and teaching you to rely more on overthinking, so that you can map out all the possibilities of what's happening. And when you confuse that for intuition, it throws you way out of balance, because then your energy centers get very imbalanced, and they're very, the upper ones are more fully developed than your lower ones. And they can all develop at different times, but what I've experienced personally is that it throws it into that imbalance, right? Spirit, what is the main theme here for this reading before we begin to close it out, please? King of Pentacles. Yeah, you're worth it. Remembering that you're worth it, and how, right? This is also, to me, a card of massive self-regulation and like calling your energy back to yourself. You're worth it, but why, right? Making a list of like why someone would be overjoyed or should be, I mean, we don't want to should anybody, but like, why is somebody going to be thrilled to date you? Why is a potential employer or your employer now, why do they so deserve to have you as an employee? What's amazing about you? Making those lists, right? And not seeing it from a place of like, that I'm doing this as an act of like, the train horn again. you're not doing it to like falsely build yourself up or to create this false sense of validation. Sometimes you need to take that kind of inventory, right? Especially if you've kind of been confused or you're trying to clarify your intentions for something. This is not just why, but how. This is also that sort of grounded effort of the page and the knight. This is beautiful energy because it's the sort of, again, it's like a maturation of that energy where that little bit of humility around the heart center, curiosity, wondering instead of being certain, that energy. It's a different kind of knowing, and it's the difference between certainty and knowing, and that's where it's like this beautiful cups energy. It could also be counterpart energy. So you could have earth in your chart or water or somebody like there could be that balance. It could be ways that you're balancing these energies within you as well. Um, yeah, but because I feel like the King of Swords is coming across more as this sort of way that you've been. This is like the history of things. And I think what I really like is that you're waking up to the things that need to shift and move, right? And the momentum is swords, which is good because it's quick, which means that you're not trying to do something. It's not like quick and dirty and it's done. You don't want to take shortcuts. That's not what this is. The King of Pentacles doesn't do that. The main lesson here is understanding that not only is there a better way that's way more grounded, and that leaves you feeling more secure and stable within yourself, right? It's like it adds this rich color to everything. Like, just look at the difference at the outset, right? I don't know if you can see it because the light is here. There you go. But like, look at the difference, right? Just the palettes, where you've been. And then you have this beautiful, it's almost like I've thought about this before where it's like water being poured into really arid earth. And that's almost what it is here, right? The high priestess, the queen of cups, and the king of pentacles. And it's like it's like I'm thinking, I don't know why this is so weird, but like dehydrated food that's being rehydrated. Like it's a whole different level of nourishment. And I feel like that's kind of like you're rehydrating your life, right? Like and it's not bringing it back to like 3 6 3 6 on the time in any specific way, because I feel like it was alive. Like there's no like it's like a different season, right? It's a different season. And this could, I'm just hearing harvest, and that could be like you're understanding what it means to reap what you sow. When you sow it less, because we say that a lot, but it's almost like, oh, you'll reap what you sow. And we don't say it when it's good, we say it when it's bad. We weaponize that statement as opposed to really sinking into what that means. What have you planted? Have you planted seeds with intention? Right? Have you planted seeds with intentionality and then moving forward on them, as opposed to waiting for something to happen? And then this schadenfreude where we go into this place of like, well, you reap what you sow. Because we also typically collectively use that statement as a way to describe what's happening to someone else, right? So just thinking about that too. And maybe just that softening, right? That softening the edges of the heart center where it could have been this sort of like confusion. But the clarity here is what I love about the clarity is that there's new, and it's not like a new little thing. This is like a new world, a new way of seeing things. You're stepping through a totally different portal. And into something much more consistent. And the sun is like one of the more fortuitous cards in that, like it's very auspicious. It's very good. This is some Leo energy as well. Fifth house specifically. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like there's a lot more fun that's afoot, that's coming. But it's like the thing is that it's not meeting you on the path. You're going to it by virtue of where you are. So just let that sink in, that a lot of the work that you've been doing isn't for naught. It's actually and I think a lot of people during this past Mercury retrograde felt it. Like I see different things online and I creep comments in different, I giggle because I'm like, I just like to see other, tarot readers being cheered on, and like in their comment sections, I'll like comments that people make. I'm like, yes, they are amazing. Yes, they are. And I get really excited for them. But I've seen in the comments that it's like this depth that we went into, and it was in Virgo and Libra, which was interesting because they're more, earth and air energies as opposed to water, but it really feels like that. It was in service to our water, right? So nonetheless, that was like the longest explanation ever. I don't really think I'm going to clarify anything because that was straightforward AF. I am going to pull from, this Super Attractor deck. This was one of the ones that I got at HomeSense or Marshalls or something. On what day was that? That would be the 30th. Oh, time is a construct, my friends. Time isn't real, and neither are we. I'm kidding. We are. I found it. It was like massively discounted, which is brilliant. I love it when Spirit does that. I'm like, yes, that makes me feel abundant. That's like a King of Pentacles moment where you walk in and you're like, oh, hello, thing that was just waiting for me. It's good to feel good, right? Okay, so Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creative, specifically to close out this reading? Messages of abundance, being that we're ending on this King of Pentacles, to take with us through the day and into this energy. I feel my way into faith one step at a time. Yes. Isn't that beautiful? I feel my way into faith. Oh, that's what this is. That's the challenge. I feel my way into faith. I feel my way into faith one step at a time. And that's this energy here. Oh, so damn good. And that really is, it encapsulates the Knight of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles, and that Ace of Cups that popped out too, right? One step at a time. That little bit of curiosity, devotion to the small. It doesn't have to be done all today, right? It does not have to all be done today. And an affirmation one. Okay, Spirit, I got you. I get it. Okay. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives, please? Messages for my daily creatives. Two, I live in a friendly universe. Let life befriend you today. Every hour on the hour throughout the day, remind yourself, I live in a friendly universe. I am sustained by love. Whatever you do, wherever you go, whoever you are with, let yourself be guided by the loving hand of the universe. And that's where feelings don't always make sense, right? They just don't. Today I had my appointment and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to a metaphysical store that I've gone to. I hadn't been there in like a while. Like it had been at least a year, I think. But I had gone there so much from when I was 16. Like this store has been in my hometown for decades. Like it's amazing. And I love it so much. So I was like, I'm just going to go and wander today. And it was just such a delicious experience, right? It was such a delicious energy and it was just so good. Like I basically took myself out on a date. And it was so lovely. But that's where it's like, you don't, believing that you live in a friendly universe means that you trust in those little things. Like I'm going to go do this. And that's where this emotional thing comes in. Like that's that comfort, right? Taurian energy is also that comfort. I feel my way into faith one step at a time. How does it feel? Moment by moment. Let that be your guiding light. So I will leave it there, my friends. And if this resonated, please give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel if you're not already. But if you are joining me from my subscriber base, thank you so much. I think we hit 300 2 days ago, which is like, it feels like when I think about people who have like 150,000 or like 100,000, which like when that happens for readers, I'm like, I feel like I'm just like so excited. I get so pumped. I feel like other people, like seeing other people succeed, it's just like the best fucking thing ever. So anyways, it gets me fired up every time. So we hit that milestone. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And yeah, so as always, my friends, wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well. Take care.